Thank you. I would like to kind of just dwell on your relationship to the material. For Avinash, it's as you said, it's like very personal material you're deriving from your own life, and and it's basically your childhood, your relationship to your father, especially. And um, does this closeness to the subject matter have certain advantages or disadvantages? Sometimes when things are too close, you kind of lose sense of perspective. Like as you said, there are things that you thought were normal, people were like overwhelmed that it wasn't normal for them, and probably vice versa. So does your intimacy with the subject matter kind of create some challenges?
So when I started writing, there was definitely anger. There was a lot of anger that was there. But what also happened is because I've also grown up, and I'm also running a small company where we do ad films and stuff. So you also deal with people. You also have people working in the company, and you'll have to provide for them and stuff. So what also happened is every time I kept coming back to the material, I also thought, if I have to shut this company and tell my employees to just go away, one, I'll feel like a failure. And if I have to go and take up a job and say start from probably the like the basics of pay or whatever, because I don't have technically much experience, I don't think I'll be able to handle that failure. So this kind of thought came to me. So when this thought came to me, it also helped me, and I also told myself that, see, when you're writing a script, if even if it is from the children's point of view, it cannot make somebody black or white. It has to always be in the gray area where let the audience decide whether this man has what is this man? Is he a good man or is he a bad man? Because I am also in that situation. So because I am also in the situation, because I feel a certain way about what happened, but as I'm growing older, I also understand why it would have happened. So these conflicting thoughts help me kind of find a balance where certain things I wanted to say it the way it has to be told. Like if you guys have seen the film, the first introduction of the father, with the thunder and lightning, that is how I always used to feel. It was not that he was necessarily sitting like that, but the thought that my father has come back home will I just get tormented. So thunder lightning was a form of showing the torment for me. At the same time, the first time when the kid is slapped, those are some things which I said I will not take it out, because if I take that out, there is no story at all. At the same time, I also didn't want to make him like a very dark character, because at that point, as a child, I probably would have felt that he's the darkest person I've met. That is not the reality, because you always have to look through the other person's point of view to understand and give like a almost balanced narrative. So even though the material was very close to me, I was very conscious that it has to have an objective, a sense of objectivity, not exactly objective, but a sense of objectivity in the entire narrative. So that is one. And see, I don't like children talking like adults. When you see other films, you see children talking in the adult slangs. So what happens is when you write dialogues, you write your dialogues as someone from my age group, right? And it'll not work. So that was a very conscious choice, and that basically took over my entire narrative. And one more thing which came into my senses was that me and my brothers never really had conversations. It was always something silly. We never ever spoke about anything at all. So I said, let the children also be that way. They're just talking random stuff, saying, get Casper, get this, ten mitai sapdu, what, all those things, as opposed to having deep conversations. So I think because it was very personal material, I didn't have a struggle writing it. It was quite easy to write it. But these conscious choices were like definitely always on top, so that I don't miss out on that and I don't make a one-sided film.
Thank you. Akshay, I mean, Mr. Zende is such an overpowering personality. Even at the age of 82, he can just like hijack the conversation. That's the impression I get watching the film. So I wanted to. I mean, you also mentioned that you were shooting and you didn't know where you were going until at the end of the process. So, and also I also come from a different point of view in terms of. I mean, every time that we hear in the news of some custodial torture or something, we always blame the films about films glorifying cops and so on. So for you approaching Mr. Zende as a cop, did you have to consciously create a distance or try to kind of give a shape to where he was taking the conversations to, or did you choose to just submit yourself to wherever he was kind of taking, I mean, his self image?
See, I discovered Mr. Jinde with the film. So it was not that I had any perception about him, because then I don't think so it would have been. I wanted to keep the film very honest. There is, I mean, I've been speaking to people and they say, oh, it's a documentary. So a lot of people don't want to watch documentary in India, because I feel it's how they have, how they have been perceived. So because I'm not a documentary filmmaker, I wanted to make it really connecting to the people, because I feel it's, and also if you see the end of the film, it doesn't end with his police work. Uh, it's kept purposefully like that, because it's not about him. He was a policeman for 40 years, but the film speaks about his 82 years life. Also, I think so. More than him as a cop, I think so. Him being a human being was really important. I wanted to really highlight that point when, when there's a lot of negativity around. To have a person who's, who really loves to give selflessly is what I really liked. And him being a cop, because we always have a different perception of a cop, so it started trying to figure out how did he catch Charles. But I actually remembered it, once the film was made, that oh, there was Charles also. So uh, so yeah, I mean, I just see, I think for me filmmaking is all about characters. I always remember characters in films, and Jende for me is, it was that character which attracted me. I explored that character as much as I could, and I'm presenting it to the, to everyone as a film. So yeah, I mean, that's the idea of the film.
Prashant, in contrast, your film is fiction and you are narrating the film largely through the eyes of a teenage girl, and which is very different from your own position as like a male filmmaker and so on. So, does it um, pose a challenge when you're trying to develop a film through the eyes of a person which is very different? I mean, who has a very different social position, or all characters like for a filmmaker like just the same?
So I think in this particular film, the heavy lifting was already done by Indu's script, and it was her memories of almost being at that age and facing all those things. But again, I think even when you say it's very different from say Zende, one of the things I try to do with my filmmaking is that I try as much as possible to be an objective observer and not uh, get into the psyche or get into the head of characters. And I think it's a position I'm most comfortable with. If you look at the my first film and this, so I've tried to be more close to the characters in terms of close-ups and all those stuff, but still I maintain the position of that objective observer. So that is probably a way of coping out of that difficult thing of being looking from those characters perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more of the feeling of uh, the general empathy you have for people, how you see people. All those things might be making some. So I mean, I'm usually when people say ask something like this, I'm reminded of something I read long back when I was a kid in an interview with Maniratnam. I think Manisha Koirala asked. I mean, people are asking him questions, and Manisha Koirala asked him, where does this sensitivity come from? So he said something very interesting. He said, if it's not in the seed, it won't be in the tree. So then it just really impressed me. I don't know how I'll be some 12 or 13-year-old, and I tried to have it in the seed. I tried to develop that, and I think that's paying off in some way.
Uh, I want to dwell on the places that your films unfold in. Avinash, your film is a period film set in Ooty, mostly in Ooty, but the towns around Ooty as well. And there's a lot of location shooting. Did you kind of make a choice to kind of not recreate period details and let the location be as it is, or did you want to were you insistent that like no, this is how I lived it, and like what was your approach to the locations that are found in this film?
So I don't think I could have made this in any other place because one, I really love Ooty. See, it's always been my dream to shoot in Ooty. So whatever would have happened, I would have found a way out of it. Uh, See, I actually went to the real location. This actually happened. Like from where the film is being shot, it is about 3 kilometers away. But I couldn't find the exact houses there, and my house is still there. I mean, my then house is still there, but it is completely ruined and stuff, and completely developed. Too many guest houses and stuff. So that was very disappointing because that was not the place I wanted to go back to. But what happened was, luckily, we kind of found a very old bungalow, which has been there for I think about 60 years, and they've not touched anything. So the moment I walked into the house, I felt like I love it because whatever I see here is ruined, and it's also very old.
Taking it. So it does feel like end of an era in terms of new voices and so on, and it becomes more and more difficult to kind of get into this space without an established theatrical run and so on. So I wanted to, because all your three films come with their own specific risks, commercial, but also like stylistic. So I just wanted to kind of pick on that. Avinash, your film is 258 minutes long and worth every minute. You should watch the film. And wanted to ask you whether did you conceive it as like a two-parter earlier, or was it a web series, or was it always like one single film that has to be watched end to end, because it is a challenge for the viewers, for platforms and so on. So yeah, your approach to this.
So see, when I was writing this, I initially thought of this to be a web series. I initially thought I could kind of make a law. I mean, like 4 or 5 seasons and stuff. So that is how I wanted to begin writing. But then, when I wrote about 100 pages, I kind of felt that it felt like a movie to me. At the same time, what also happened was I knew that um, when I'm writing it, if I'm able to find hook points, if I make a larger, I mean, a longer film, I will also be able to cut it as a series. So Nangal is a feature film which runs to about 258 minutes. Uh, we also have pointers which mark it, and we get 6 episodes. So for this particular film, even when we were writing it, we had this in mind that if you're not able, if somebody is not able to watch it at the entire stretch, you can also have this option. So we also have a shorter cut, a 3 hour cut, which we're trying to get it to at 2:45, which is a theatrical cut. So we have all these three options, and with this film, we could, it organically led us to having these three options. So yeah, so this happened organically for this particular film. So yeah.
where where there concerns that okay, this is going to make us like I mean, I don't know, is there like a taboo associated with the runtime and so on?
No, 100%. Because see, telling somebody watch a 4 hour film, it's like even my crew is like, what is wrong with you? Why are you showing us a 4 hour film? But one thing that has happened is, see, the first thing is I'm always scared. So what I do is when the DCP is ready, I watch it first. So that if it's working, fine. If it is not working, I'm like, okay, it is not working, and I will feel sad about it, and I'll not tell anybody else. But what happened was when we saw the 4 hour, so me and my composer and my team, we saw the 4 hour cut. To be very honest, I'm not telling this because it's my film. I didn't feel the length at all. So and they also said they didn't feel the length. So that kind of gave me a little bit of confidence. See, but I know that it's a very tough sell to say if I release the 4 hours in the theater, like how am I going to call the audience and tell that you can watch a 4 hour film? But if they come into the theaters, I know that they will sit and watch it, but they'll have to come into the theaters, right? Uh, Hence the idea of having a theatrical version. Hence the idea of saying that now, like we all love the 4 hour version, so a series as well. There is definitely, uh, obviously, you can't expect to release a 4 hour film in theaters. I mean, it'll be great if somebody says we will release a 4 hour film. You watch, I mean, after 2 hours, we'll give you an interval, or you can have two intervals also. It's great to think of this as an idea, but in reality, this might not be possible. So, we are ready for all three options as well. So,
Akshay, I mean, as you said, a documentary itself is like people, oh my God, I'm not going to watch a documentary. Within the hierarchy of forms, even documentaries like has a lot of challenges kind of getting to its public. So, and on top of that, did you have concerns that, okay, this is such a specific film in terms of the personality and also the location? Does that or did you kind of follow what the material needed without considerations of whether this is going to be like universally appreciated, whether this can go on to this distribution platform or this festival and so on? So yeah.
Documentaries are that's a it's really hard to sell. As everyone says, I don't know, I haven't asked anyone right now. It's my world premiere. See, I believe in this, I believe in my film. I believe people would love to watch it. um, that's it. I don't know what how where it would go, or how would I find my market for it. I think so that's the journey which has started from Mami. Let's see where does it go. I am very hopeful. I have made a very honest film. I love the film. I think it's quite entertaining. Yesterday at the world premiere, seeing hundreds of people laughing at the jokes which I've been laughing on for the last 3 years on edit was quite heartwarming. So I genuinely, I'm very hopeful that this doc will change the way documentaries are perceived, at least in the Indian commercial market, and hope so that happens.
Prashant, I mean, I want to pick on that point where you said you are keeping a distance from the character and you are dwelling on her confusion without underlining that she's going through all this. And that I'm thinking that comes with a risk, right? I mean, surely you can just put a lot of music and then kind of telegraph to the audience that she's feeling this and we are supposed to feel this way about her feeling and so on. It's definitely a risk, but you stuck to that what like the vision that you have. So your thoughts on like not making compromises in terms of what you want and with a view for commercial distribution.
If you had watched my debut, you would have seen more of less compromises. So yeah, I mean, as you correctly put it, it's a huge risk of not connecting with enough number of audience. So in this. It's almost like I didn't want my second film to be in a certain way. I wanted it to have stars. I wanted it to connect with more people. I wanted it to be more marketable, but nothing of that happened. And it's almost like a sequel, a spiritual sequel to the first film. But from the making side, some of the things. I mean, of course, I can't cross the lines in terms of my sensibilities. I will revolt against myself. Some of the things like the use of music is a little ample in this. I mean, in the first film, there are portions where I'm like no music. In this, when a suggestion comes from the composer, I'll say. Probably you can try that. So I was being little lenient, but still it is in that taboo territory where people do I really want to watch it? Yeah. So that is a challenge, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to navigate that. So what happens is that be it the Summer of Miracles, be it Inheritance, it uh, if there is a captive audience, like in a film festival, I think most of the people love it. Uh, so I'm sure that there are many excess of that audience somewhere. So I learned management and marketing some 15 years back, and some of the things that we used to get so much excited was the long tail that was coming because of the internet and all. And as you said, so OTTs came, which was a direct proof that you can go to an audience somewhere, and over the course of time your movie, any movie can be profitable, which finds its own audience. But as you said, sadly, we began to see that the old world is making its presence there, and the old rules are still being applicable. There are gatekeepers who guards which what has to be shown and all. So I'm really confused. I mean, even in the auto ride to here, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, what will I do with these two movies? So I think one of the things I might end up doing if so Adishangal Venal with his 2017 film is still with us. It's still nowhere out there. And I thought I was doing something wrong. Maybe it was me. And I talked with Suman the other day of Mithya, and he said that his producer is Rakshit Shetty, and even they don't know how to put it across. So I was mildly relieved because of that. So yeah, so I think one thing as an indie filmmaker, what I can do is just put it across and wait. Like I'll find my long tail myself. So technically that's possible now. At least maybe 15 years ago, there are no platforms. Now there are platforms. You have to pay. You have to sacrifice the amount, the upfront amount someone would have paid you. But then there is a way, technically, there's a way to put across the film and maybe let it be there. So thankfully, both of my producers, first one was my friend and second one is my partner. They are not expecting an immediate return out of it. So maybe I can afford to do that also.
And yeah, you mentioned your management background, but again, I want to kind of emphasize your backgrounds. And Avinash, you have been working in the commercial industry, ad film specifically. So does that history, does that experience kind of give you certain like baggage in like positive and negative ways when you're working with a material that is so different? Does it kind of like I don't know, change your instinct, or does it kind of sharpen your kind of approach to the moments that you want to film? Yeah, do you sense an influence of your work in the commercial sector on this particular film?
See, I've only done films, so I don't know anything else. Like, I grew up watching films, and I decided early on that I didn't know there was something called a director, so I thought heroes are the directors. So I thought hero will go and stand and it'll be captured. Then I decided I'll become a hero. And then when I was in my 10th standard, I was acting in a film. I was playing a very small part, and then I saw the director scolding the actor, and I asked them who is that person, and they said that is the director. Uh, I mean, the directors write and they make the films. And I said I wanted to be that person because that person is scolding everybody. So that's how it started. Um, so after my 12th, I joined film school. I did my editing and sound design because it's like about 40-50 years old, and many things have not been maintained. So we were just when I was looking at the location, the owners were in process of renovating it. So I told them, please give me some more time, and then you can start your renovation. And they were kind enough. So to recreate the period, one thing I knew that see, I don't have the budget. Whatever I do, I don't think I can recreate anything. So we were very careful. So we shot the market sequences in Kotagiri market because we couldn't get permission in the Ooty market, and the Kunur market again we didn't get permission. So everywhere we kept the camera, we kind of made sure that there are no modern stuff. There are no dish, all the digital dishes and stuff. So we were very cautious. We were very. I mean, that was painful because wherever you go and keep the camera, you have these LED boards happening. So we had to kind of choose like that. And so in terms of estate, again, because it's estate and we are lucky that we got a large space, Whatever we were shooting in the estate, we didn't have much problem because it was like as how it always was. This house again gave us that freedom. In terms of the school, we were lucky to find the school. We got this in the last moment because the school that we were actually planning to shoot in, we didn't get the permission. And this kind of we only got half days for 3 days. But see, luckily the school was how it was built then, and no real advancement in terms of the exteriors. Interiors, we had a lot of computers and all those things. Those things we had to kind of put cloths and basic stuff to cover it up. And see, one more thing at this point is the location. Yes, it really helped. Um, and also the art and prop. So my art director, every shot she was behind the monitor. After a point, even I started getting nervous because she'll keep pointing, saying that shoes is old, that is old, this is old. I'll say that is not even in the frame. I have not even kept the frame. She said, no, that is old. So she was very, very sincere in what she was doing. So that really helped me because that was one thing out of my head, and she exactly did. She did more than what was asked. So that really helped. So yeah, Ooty is a place which still has about 30% which is still raw. So I was just lucky that way.
Akshay, your film is about Mr. Zende, but it's also so much about the history of Bombay and Bombay itself. So I also hear that you had artificial intelligence tools to kind of recreate locations. So yeah, your approach to Mumbai, and because you're also a Mumbaiker, so yeah, how much of
I'm born in
yeah,
Pune, which is very different to Mumbai.
okay.
But you see, I like chaos, and Mumbai is chaos. So I really love the city. I think so. Whatever I think so, 3 4 scripts, whatever I'm written, I don't know. I can't think beyond Mumbai, which is so. I really love the city, and this is you know. I plus Jende comes from Mumbai, and we discovered the British Mumbai. I think so. If you see the film, we discovered how the 18th century landmarks were there, how how the city is being looked from a cop's point of view. Now, once we shot all of that, of course, we wanted to figure out how do we create a Haji Mastan or a Dawood Ibrahim or a Karim Lala or even for that matter the 1970s of Dharavi. Now, everyone, so for example, a lot of time there was advice that we do, we get actors and we do doc. And I thought the essence was getting lost because the story was about the character. It's about my point of view on the character, the entire film. So I thought another act, like in the entire film, if you see, there's no other character apart from J&D. Like full 70 minutes, it's just one man. So I did not want that the audience and J&D interaction to be lost by someone coming up. So I always think technology should be used to enhance the storytelling, and I think for indie filmmaking, AI is the best tool we have. I think so. This is the future. Uh, every indie filmmaker should learn about this technology and use it to its advantage to enhance his or her story.
Just have a follow up to the point you made about like Dharavi in the 70s. So how do you kind of go about like recreate? Do you have some inputs to, is that a software? I mean, how do
Yeah,
you?
so it's like a the AI technology works on something called a prompt. So I run an ad film production studio. I don't direct ads, but I do produce a lot of them, and I have an in-house post production team. Uh, Ronald, Sujay, Murtuza, these guys work day in day out and just prompting and getting it right because one, the archival footage insanely in India is for such a huge cost. I don't understand why. But I mean, we couldn't afford. We've made this film in what 5 lakh rupees. So we couldn't afford something that. So we thought, okay, we want visuals. Now no one is ready to give, so let's go for AI. So that's how we discovered. I mean, the last 3 months of it. I mean, 1 week back also, we were discovering prompts and trying to get the narrative correct. We used it very subtly. I mean, because we started getting visuals, we thought, let's use it, let's use it. But no, we just used it to wherever it was needed. And yeah, I mean,
Prashant, your film is set in Trivandrum, but I wanted to ask whether it could have been set anywhere. And also, so much of it is centered on the house that the protagonist and her father live in, and it has 2 floors, and there's a very important role that the kitchen plays because that's thematically and also in terms of the story, it's such a central place. So your approach to the city that is there in the film, but also the house, how did you select, and like what was your conception of the space that they were living in?
Actually, as Avinash was saying, I have deep link with Trivandrum. So maybe I came to the city when I was 8 years old, and around that was a time when I decided I will be a filmmaker. I mean, that was like a dream back then. So I think I was there continuously till the age of 24. So then moving out, being in other cities of India, looking back at Rwanda from there. So I think if it is one city I know really well, it's Trivandrum. So right from the short film I did in 2013, I made it a point uh, to make the city also a part of it. Even that short film, I was living in Bangalore at that time. So initially I thought of setting it in Raja Market in Bangalore or something, and then, but then at that time, I think mainly because of practical reasons, it was moved to the Chala Market in Trivandrum, and then it started making sense that it should be here. And still people, and you know, when you do that, when you show a city in a movie, it has some kind of archival value also. It just registers the city at that moment of time. So yeah, so I'm glad that I'm also being able to make this small archival footages. The second movie, because it was a debut film and all, it got longer than what we intended, and what ended up being cut was the exterior city footages. So it's like a bittersweet story. And this was, as I said, being a pandemic movie and all, it was conceived to be a very contained thing. But still, if there is a city, I wanted it to be Trivandrum. Except that I couldn't show any landmark or establish it as, even you had to clarify whether it is indeed Trivandrum. That was the thing. All this was compensated in the next film, which I'm doing with Roshan. I think it will be a real ode to Trivandrum. We are able to cover a lot of ground there. Yeah. So coming to the question about the space, actually, the film sort of okay, so initial when 2020 the discussions happened, we needed a house. We hunted for house. We almost settled in a not so perfect house, but then that production got stopped. In 2022. I think this is the discussion started with this house, because this was a house which is it was very close to Indu's house, and she used to see this house every day, and she has had fascination for this house, how it will be, how the inside will be. She even dreamt about buying it sometime. So she had this courage to find the owner of the house who runs a big company and get a very difficult appointment when he was here in Trivandrum for a brief while from abroad, and she managed to get that house, and she was shooting her debut feature that time. So this house became part of both the movies. And so that was a huge thing, getting that house which is so much spacious. So you know, again, as you said, the city is not necessary. Even that house is not necessary for this story as such. But you know, the technical requirements comes when a cameraman sees that house and says that no, I can't put all the lenses that I want here. So in that way, this house was spacious for a camera also to be there, but still it could show that compactness in the frames. It had long passages, all those things that would add to the visuals of the film. So that was it. And the kitchen we almost made, because that was an abandoned space there, because nobody has been living in there for so many years. And we had to just make it from scratch, which was good because our art team could make it the way we wanted it. Yeah, I think that is it, right?
Before I proceed to my other questions, do we have any questions from the press? Yeah, not yet. So I wanted to ask you about. I mean, this is something that I'm in my interaction with filmmakers. I'm finding like this to be a theme that is so recurrent. I mean, we are celebrating new modes of storytelling, and we are hailing OTT and so on. But increasingly, filmmakers do say that OTT platforms are becoming more conservative, and they're not